welcome. You're watching Business Today Television. I'm Sakshi, Batra with me, Bhatnagar, and this is Market Today, a show where we'll help you understand the closing action on the D Street. On the Nifty right now, we are again slipping below that 22,000 mark. So a 1,305 point of a dip that you can see on the Nifty, 21,962 to be precise right now. All the sectors barring the FMCG index is low, but the FMCG index is now trading at the day's high point, almost a percent higher right now. Of course, led by names like HUL, that's now over 6% up. As the top mover on the Nifty, Britannia, Hero Moto, Nestle, Tata Consumer Products, Tata Consultancy Services, Divis Laboratories, Asian Paints are the lone movers on the top side as far as the Nifty is concerned. But pain points, clearly the PSU index, which is now down over 15% in trade, and the PSU banking index that also reels under pressure, 13.7% lower. You also have oil and gas, infra, metals and the realty space still down about 9.5% lower in trade. Good afternoon, Share.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Sakshi, a very, very deep shade of red across the Lal Street, and it's the froth that's moving out of the system, given the way trends have shaped up. Even now, as they say in Hindi, कांटे की टक्कर है और वो आपके सामने स्क्रीन पर बहुत ही बढ़िया तरीके से आती हुई दिख रही है. Now the NDA alliance is below 300 and the INDA alliance is above 230. The deciding, ladies and gentlemen, number is 272. What will happen, only time will tell, but for the next 1 hour, we have with us Gaurang Shah, Senior Vice President, Geojit Financial, Kunal Rambhia, founder of the Streets. Gaurang will take care of how balance sheets will move, and Kunal will take care of how charts will function. I'm the neutral party today. No calls either on the long or the short side. So my job is very easy. I am going to ask the right questions. Gaurang, coming to you, a very warm welcome. Namaskar, good afternoon. I don't know whether the afternoon is good or not, but as they say, स्वागत है आपका. बताइए क्या लगता है बाजार में?
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद शैल जी, आपको कुणाल को, साक्षी को और सभी दर्शक को सादर प्रणाम और शुभ दिन. हम तो बहुत ही संतुष्ट हैं आज, क्योंकि आज खासा नीचे के स्तर में निवेश हमने किया है. ये एक ब्लैंकेट डिस्क्लोजर है हमारे तरफ से. मैं मेरी निजी निवेश की बात कर रहा हूँ. और चलिए, one thing that I learned after 2008 when the too big to fall fell in America, Lehman Brothers crisis as we know it. That time I learned a lesson that there is nothing called impossible in markets. Yeah, I have learned a new lesson. Of course, I knew it, but I have learned it that with Indian politics and election result also, never say never. Anything is possible unless and until the last vote and the seat is counted for and the direction is clear. So yes, we are down and out, but one thing good is that we have recovered from the intraday lows that we saw. Virtually, we were at a point when we could have hit 10% lower circuit, but that's looking a distant reality now. So there is conviction that there is buying visible at lower level. And more importantly, Shail and Sakshi, I think there were a lot of rumors in the so-called unwarranted, unsolicited international universities of WhatsApp, YouTube, X, Y, Z, Twitter, which caused a little bit of more flutter into the market. But as we are nearing the hour of results to come through decisively, my sense is that we should have some kind of sanity returning to the market. India VIX at 27 or 28, the last time that I saw, was also a cause of concern. Now what remains to be seen, Shail, is that what is the final number, and I'm sure that by the time the market closes, we will not know that. It will be late in the evening that we'll have more clarity. But today is not the last day. मार्केट आज भी है, कल भी रहेगा, और हम और आप भी आज और कल रहेंगे. मौके बहुत होंगे. There will be a lot of opportunities to invest in the market. I have given a view today that out of 100 rupees that you wanted to invest, don't take a large portion out of it and invest today, but at least 25%, you can definitely take a call and invest. This advice is purely from a long-term point of view.
Okay, so where has that 25% really gone is would give a lot of clarity to our viewers, Gaurang. Would it again be the screaming buy names that you have talked about on our show multiple times, defense names? Were they looking attractive to you after this sharp fall in trade today, giving one more opportunity for those who have missed it?
Well, I will definitely put my neck out on this one, Sakshi. I will definitely say, because see, elections come and go. And like I mentioned earlier, also, the most unfortunate part in our democratic, great democracy is that we have elections around the year, either in form of Gram Panchayat, municipal, state election, elections like this, or otherwise. But does that fundamentally change the functioning of the companies? Well, if we decisively have the NDA government coming back, I know the numbers are not something that I would like to speak about because it was a different picture yesterday and it's a totally different picture today. So, defense, autos, FMCG, financials, that includes public and private banks, strong NBFCs, and stocks related to F- pharma, including FMCG. I would have mentioned that. So that's going to be the broad 4 or 5 sectors primarily that I would advise investors to look at.
Right, and as of on cue, let's look at how the FMCG stocks are behaving. We've mentioned this many a time that lever hasn't done anything for the last 4 years, and perhaps today is the day to rise and shine. And ladies and gentlemen, you see a 3.5% uptick on lever on fantastic volumes, and that perhaps is a precursor of not only what valuations have done to attract newer buyers into lever, but also how the coming government might structure its spending to augment and sort of ameliorate the pain that is there in rural India. Let's get Kunal into this discussion. Good afternoon and a very warm welcome to you, Kunal. Anything that catches your fancy? I would not be suggesting any names at all. We don't know whether this is a falling knife or whether the end is right there in front of us. What looks good to you? What looks super bad?
Good afternoon, Shel sir. Good afternoon to everyone. So, if I look at the overall structure, I was fortunate enough to actually be part of our set discussion last week, where Nifty was near to the support, and we had mentioned that if there is a trend following in market, then this is a good opportunity to buy. I would honestly ask you to connect. If you have the chart, you can just connect the couple of bottoms which are of 21st of December, 24th of Jan, and 13th of May. And Nifty has just went below that level and reclaimed that support level. So 21,985 looks very good for me to initiate buys. I'll definitely go ahead with those PSU counters which were overheated till yesterday, but they are available at 15 to 18% discount compared to the yesterday's price, where the trend is absolutely intact. So I'll stick with the counters like NMDC, or say IOB, Indian Overseas Bank, which we discussed last time also, or say Ken Bank for the sake of it. So these all counters are looking very attractive to me. The levels which I can share on IOB right now is at 63.25. I think with the stop loss of 62, one can initiate a buy. On IDBI, one can initiate a buy with the stop loss of 79. I think these can be good bargain buying opportunities for the next rally to emerge from here itself.
Okay, got that. So those are the key names that Kunal is positive on: NMDC, Can Bank, IOB, and he suggested levels also where bargain buying is available in the markets right now. But Kunal, again, I'll come to the defensives which are attracting all the attention: FMCG, pharma space. How are you really looking at this defensive play in the market? Will it have more legs, or should the markets come back on hopes that probably once things are clearer, that the NDA will form a government comfortably, etc. And if the markets were to come back, do you think again it will be the pre-Lok Sabha elections names that will again drive the markets higher?
See, Sakshi, the trend might just continue for those counters which where we saw the rally for almost last 5 to 6 months. But nonetheless, if I look at the pharma space again, they are looking very attractive. And in fact, in today's session itself, let me just give you an example of the counter which we discussed last week. That's Strides Pharma. Strides Pharma, look at the counter. It was in lower circuit today. I don't know what the reason must be, but counter hit the low of 687, and presently it's just trading down by around 3%. It recovered for almost 17%. So yes, these are the counters which are trend following counters. They are looking very attractive, and in the pharma space I have two selected counters which where I am very bullish, where the structure is looking really very strong on the charts. The first is Stride Pharma itself, presently trading at 835. I think the close below 820 might just spoil the structure, but otherwise this is a good stock to initiate the trade with this target of around 900 plus levels. And the second is Divi's Lab. Again, that counter I'm very bullish on. The counter is trading at 4,350 kind of levels. I think with the stop loss of 4,200, one can ride the rally on this counter too. These two are looking very good as of now, but not purely defensive space. These are trend following counters which I pick up from pharma space.
Okay. Gaurang, let me come back to you. Now, looking at the trends that we are, seeing right now, 293 for the NDA and India at 233. Is there a faint chance that there could be a hung parliament and then therefore the markets could be in a worsening trajectory from here on? Or do you believe that, things will be better tomorrow?
I don't want to put a guess on political situation right now, Sakshi, because what has happened yesterday and what is visible in front of our eyes, it's a very different picture. This was exactly what I was referring to a while back in my opening remarks, that there were a lot of rumors flying around. And with this kind of a number, there is going to be a lot of effort from the India Alliance to possibly push on to the smaller contributors to the BJP-led NDA Alliance. And that could create a little bit of unpleasant situation in terms of the stability. It's not that we have very stable situation right now. It's very, very fragile, but at least we are able to keep our head above the water. But in case if this kind of situation happens either late in the evening, today, tomorrow or day after, and there is going to be a big question mark with respect to, like you mentioned, a hung assembly. The next question that I would ask is that if not NDA, and if it is going to be the India Alliance, then from that pack of lot of enthusiastic people want to be sitting on the Prime Minister's chair, who's going to be that lucky individual? Now that's a big question mark. I have no answers to that. So let's hope that the things as it was referred to at around about noon and possibly at 12:30, those situations don't arise. But with political situation, very difficult to say anything. In case if the NDA is not able to form the government, Sakshi, and if there are going to be a breakup in the alliance, then we have to brace ourselves.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch the last line.
I said if in case NDA is not able to form the government, and if the alliance is able to break into the smaller parties which form the NDA alliance, and if there is going to be exit, then we have to brace ourselves as far as downside.
Okay. Fair point. And Sakshi, more than anything else, the only thing certain is that the markets are going to close at 3:30. Right, we have another 45 minutes to go before people can position themselves on three scenarios that are going on in the market, and then perhaps react next day morning. I don't think so that by 3:30 we are going to get an election outcome. It's still where it was over the last 3-4 hours, between 295 and 303 for the ruling NDA, and between 226 and 233 for the INDIA alliance. What happens, only time will tell, but sensible people as Gaurang have dipped into the market early morning and they are sitting quietly. Kunal has stuck his neck out and pointed to buys which he had suggested earlier, only that they've got juicier still. He is the youngest in the four people here, and therefore has the advantage of youth and the advantage of being aggressive. I am keeping quiet. I haven't done anything at all except watch stock prices, and ask sensible questions. So my job, ladies and gentlemen, is the easiest, and that comes to Gaurang. Gaurang, let's look at the FMCG basket and valuations on the index level, as also stocks like Lever, Dabur and Marico have been around the 10-year price to book, 10-year price to earnings. In fact, in the case of Lever, lower than that. So they obviously represent a Jewish and a very nice juicy opportunity to perhaps get into a new sector or get back into the arms of an old love, depending upon how long you've spent time in the market. Your views on FMCG and anything that catches your fancy.
So, Shell, we have a whole host of companies in the FMCG pack. And I think it's one of the silver lining in this kind of a situation is that the Met Department has predicted a better than long-term average monsoon. And that will translate into a lot of positivity as far as FMCG sector is concerned. HUL, ITC, Dabur, Marico, Imami, Tata Consumer Products, Godrej Consumer Products, Britannia, Nestle. I hope I have not missed out on any of the names that are under our coverage right now. Maybe one or two I would have missed out. But I have always mentioned one thing, Shell, you are aware about it, that India was, is, and will always remain a consumption-driven story.
Yes.
And I think if freebies are going to be rolled out the way it has been mentioned by certain political parties, that will be an additional spending power on a common man's hand.
Okay. Kunal, your favorite FMCG stock, if any?
Sir, I am very much comfortable with Hindustan Lever. The only reason being this counter made the extreme bottom somewhere on 7th and 8th of May. And from that level, the counter is clearly making higher top, higher bottom. Today's volumes are massive. It has given the consolidation breakout from February so far, and that's at around 24.50. It's right now trading at 24.90. So any decline from here by around say 40 to 50 points, it can be a fantastic buying opportunity. The stop on this entire view is going to be 23.20. And the targets can be the previous high, which are around 27.50 to around 2800 kind of levels. It's a structurally strong chart. The trend is very much positive. Intermediate to long-term trend is also positive, so it's a perfect buy in the entire space.
Okay, got that. So that's as far as the FMCG names are concerned. Gaurang, let's come to the other portion from the defensive pack that's making some kind of strides on the positive side. Some names from the pharma space. We have Sun, Cipla, Divi's Laboratories holding up their neck above the water in trade today. Apart from that, some of the IT names, the heavyweights, for example, they are still looking up as of now. Do you still see there is enough and more scope now for investors to shift their part of their money from the winners of the past to these defensives?
In this kind of a situation, Sakshi, it's always better to look at flight to safety. So your ITs and the farmers are the front runners when it comes to this kind of situation as far as flight to safety is concerned. But I would also say that stock markets have rewarded the courageous. So I'm not talking about what happens today, tomorrow, 1 week, 1 month down the line, or 3 months down the line. But if I have to purely look at the long-term perspective, yes, there is a little bit of turbulence that we are witnessing right now. But I'm quite sure that we'll be flying out of that turbulence and into safety zone. I would also say that in this entire, exit poll and the final outcome of the political event in form of results, we have missed out the strong GDP number. We are missing out on the highest level of GST collection, good monsoon, and first quarter earnings will be witnessing from next month onwards. And I'm sure all these events are going to soothe the sentiments on the positive side.
Okay. Kunal, let's ask you as far as some of the preferred stocks would be for you from the pharma pack now. You've talked about the PSU banking names that you'd be interested in buying the dip, and you also talked about the metal names like NMDC, FMCG you've discussed. What about the pharma names now? Where exactly would you be comfortable putting in fresh money?
Uh, as we discussed just before this conversation, that DV's lab is looking very attractive. Now, on the long-term chart, if you look at the overall formation, it gave a fantastic breakout at around 4,100 levels, and from there it went up to almost 4,450. Right now, it's trading at 4,330. So, I think with the stop loss of 4,100, I think this counter can be taken for a mid to long term. The targets on this can be as high as 5,000 levels with the stop loss of around 250 to 300 points from the present levels. The second counter, which I'm still not very comfortable with, but yeah, formations are good, is again Sipla. Only reason being that Sipla is not able to cross the previous high, so I'm little cautious, but the trend is fantastic and it's positive. So with the stop loss of 1400, one can definitely eye on it. If someone wants to trade on momentum side, then wait for the Sipla to give a breakout of 1500 levels. I think with the stop loss of 1400, then the targets can be 1750 kind of levels.
Sakshi, just a point to mark the Nifty. Now 21,920. We are still down 1350 for you, ladies and gentlemen. Why I mark this is that till about maybe 50 minutes ago, we were at 22,272. So again, a bit of selling, fresh shorts in the system, depending upon which side of the equation you are on, ladies and gentlemen. Feel confident to understand that your way. I am just marking the price. Let's look at the Nifty Bank, 47,172. Down 3,800 points. And Sakshi, we seem to have forgotten to mention that we have the MPC this week. Plus the fact that as Gaurang mentioned that the market seems to be missing a robust GDP number, a very strong GST collection, and of course the S&P outlook on the rating being turned to stable, and of course the possibility of an upgrade. But these are equity markets. They are volatile, they are nervous, they are jittery, and they are as much in panic as any frightened deer would be in front of a car headlight. Be that as it may, we have to deal with the price, and price is right there in front of us. Sensible ones like Gaurang have bought into this very sharp dip. And what has also been purchased, Sakshi, State Bank of India. This is a counter which is a proxy to lending to corporate India, India's largest public sector bank. And I'll request the PCR to show an intraday chart for you. The intraday low, Sakshi, on State Bank of India today was somewhere like 725. This is the lowest that we've seen somewhere since 19th of March 24. And the volume itself says that sensible people have got into it. Gaurang, your fundamental view on SBI, and then Kunal will take it on the charts.
Extremely strong. And my sense is, Shell, that not only State Bank of India, I think Canara Bank, Bank of Baroda, Bank of India, PNB, all these are names which have delivered on the earnings front.
Yes.
Now, we are maintaining our positive stance as far as all these names are concerned, including the large cap private sector and mid to large cap private sector banks. Small cap private sector banks look extremely attractive. Yeah, I know. I mean, now getting bills passed at the floor, the parliament is going to be a little bit difficult with the kind of numbers that we are seeing. But excuse me. Eventually, my sense, Shell, is that we are possibly on a growth trajectory. It may take a little bit longer, but it's not like we have lost the direction.
Okay, got that. So that's as far as these stocks like SBI are concerned. Let's again see some of the other important factors. Okay, some stocks are off the low point and now are trading at the day's high point. United Breweries, it's actually sprung up. So I don't know who's really celebrating. That's the big question. We don't know who's making the party, but there is somebody who's celebrating. 3.3% higher for this one, 1936. Very strong action on this one.
Yeah, Gaurang has a view, something that he doesn't use in his life. Yeah, Gaurang, we'd like you to tell us your favorite brand in United Breweries, please.
No, my favorite brand is apart, but just to clarify Sakshi's confusion, ये ये मदिरा का क्षेत्र ऐसा है कि लोग खुशी में भी पीते हैं और गम में भी पीते हैं. तो आपको खपत को लेकर के कोई चिंता नहीं करनी चाहिए, कोई भी परिस्थिति हो, अच्छी हो या बुरी हो.
अच्छा, कमाल की बात है, ना गौरांग और ना कुणाल, इन दोनों में से कोई भी इसका उपयोग नहीं करता, लेकिन कुणाल जी के पास भी बड़ा जबरदस्त व्यू होगा यूनाइटेड ब्रूरीज पे. कुणाल, वेयर इज इट हेडेड?
So definitely I can share my technical view on this.
Yes.
And that's from
That's what you can share.
that is from May 2023 so far. If you look at the weekly charts, sir, I think from the bottoms of 1370, this counter has consistently made a higher top, higher bottom. And what we saw was last 15 to 20 days, this counter was consolidating near 1850, and today it has given a good spike again. So I think this rally is likely to continue. So with the stop loss of around 1850, one can definitely keep an eye on it. I think the previous high as 2100 levels are likely to get achieved, and if at all it surpasses that level, keep trailing the stop loss and enjoy the rally, because in this kind of positive trend we always wait for the correction to come, right? So this correction is over on United Breweries. I think this fresh rally might just emerge from the present levels.
Okay, got that. We're now also joined by Dilip Bhat on the show. Let's welcome him on the panel. Founder and Director, Padigree Advisory. He is joining in. Dilip ji, warm welcome. Thank you so much for taking the time out. How have you read through the scenario so far? Has it come as a big shock or a surprise to you? And how things change for you as a money manager? How would you do things differently post the Lok Sabha election, sir?
Well, I think one of the biggest learning, and in the markets, we always have to keep on learning, otherwise market forces you to learn and relearn. So I think one of the learning is that one needs to be objective always. One need not be so biased, and one need not get carried away by the euphoric expectations, which is what we saw in the markets. And one has to keep on thinking about as to how this thing is going to pan out. So I think one of the thing, as what I will say, is that we'll have to recalibrate our entire expectations, our the way we are going to approach the markets based on how the new combination comes in. Because I think the earlier government was doing so well and they were focusing on certain things. Now, possibly some of these things may get recalibrated, may get rescheduled. So I think we should not forget that. And I will wait and watch, because as what I've always been telling, markets are not being cheap. So at the current valuations, while India looks, without any argument, very good on a long-term basis, but from the current levels and from the current valuations, I will certainly wait and watch and will not look upon today's correction as an opportunity to buy. Maybe on the long term, it would still look good, but I would still wait for the entire thing to pan out properly.
Namaste Dilip ji, very warm welcome to you. Shail Bhatnagar this side. When you say this is a correction to buy, where are your binoculars? Mid caps, small caps, large caps? Any sector specific purchases you want to do? And more importantly, from your existing portfolio, what would you like to take out, given the way the election results have come up?
Well, the election results have come out. The combination, we do not know how that will change, whether the same earlier thing will continue or may not continue, because the way the earlier government, the existing government has done, it is very clear they were following a certain pattern, and it was very successful too. It helped the economy, it helped the markets, it helped the optimism of the investors and the confidence in the economy. But overall, based on the current thing, I would say that I will still prefer to wait and watch. I mean, in terms of the sectors, maybe earlier PSUs have been very good, and possibly they will continue, but not with so much of sheen, I think. And as whenever the new government comes with new combination, a lot of things get recalibrated. So my own sense is that the sectors also would change. Infra, everybody will still continue to look for. I think the financial sector will still continue to look for. Now, whether you're in financial, whether you're going to be dominated by the PSUs or whether it will be private sector, I think that's where we'll have to wait for the clarity to come. And other than that, even in capex, Whether PSU as a sector will continue, possibly yes, but may not be with the same kind of euphoric optimism that it continued in the past. As what I said, I'm not making any comment in a hurry, but as what I said, we'll wait.
Fair point. And once clarity emerges, it is only then do we either add an existing stock at lower levels, or you bid it goodbye, saying that बस इतना ही इससे प्रॉफिट कमाना था, and now let's hunt for greener pastures. Joining us now is Mr. Rakesh Arora, MD of Go India Advisors, himself a very well-known stock picker in the mid-cap space. Namaste Rakesh ji. Have you opened your shopping list, or are you waiting for prices to get juicier still?
I think there is a case to make little bit purchases today.
Yes.
Because if we look at the most possible scenario, probably NDA comes to power with not absolute majority for BJP, but still NDA is in a position to form the government. So nothing much changes as much. And if that is the case, then probably today's bottom is kind of the bottom market has already made, and some purchases can be done at the current levels. So I would think that is the most likely scenario at the moment. But maybe you will not want to go 100% because there are still ifs and buts because BJP is not in absolute majority. So maybe you distribute your purchases over the next few days.
Okay. So Rakesh ji, where would you buy these dips?
So see, in terms of the whole market is actually down, but the most favored sectors like infra, utilities, etc., have taken the most hit, whereas defensive sectors like FMCG, etc., has gone up a little bit. So I would say that one has to take a mix. Already long infrastructure. Maybe it doesn't really make sense to add to that position. Maybe it's time to add to some of the other sectors, which is like private sector banks, FMCG names, and have a more balanced portfolio than one you were having before the elections.
Okay. Dilip sir, let me ask you, where would you be comfortable putting in fresh money? You talked about infra, financials. Beyond that, are you looking at those outperformers of the past, or are they done for now? The next government, whichever one will come in, it may not be auguring well for such sectors to come back in such full flavor again.
Well, it's a question which is not very easy to answer, because we all were flowing with a certain tide and with a certain policies made by the earlier government. We knew where the focus was, and I think the markets were moving towards that direction. Now, whether this focus is going to get changed or not, we are not too sure. Hopefully, it will continue, but whether it will continue with the same intensity, and whether the intensity has already been priced in, I think all these things will come into play sooner than later. And my own thing is that valuations at these levels are not cheap, unless and until you're talking about a real 5 to 7 years time frame. I think in the short to medium term, one will have to navigate this particular part of the issue, that at what valuation one will be comfortable. But as what I said, I'm not in a hurry to buy, and today is not a day when I will think about fishing in the at the current levels.
But Dilip sir, would you be able to see how much more downside could be there in the offing? We're again seeing the Nifty slip now 1500 points lower at 21,761. So it was very, very volatile at this point in time. Is a bottom near? Has it been made? Will it be made tomorrow, day after, if things do not pan out as expected?
Well, I think the next two to 3 days also will continue to see a lot of volatile movements. So very difficult to put your finger on any particular levels. But as what I said, I'm not trying to evade the question, nor I'm trying to be very nebulous. I mean, not giving a proper answer. But I will still prefer, because I'm not comfortable with the current valuations at the moment. I think they are very richly valued. And looking at the overall scenario, and I would also look at whether FIs are going to come back in a hurry, because it's not an absolute investment theory, it's a relative investment theory, because they find somewhere else something much more better. Though without any arguments, India still remains a very good investment on a long-term basis. So I think somewhere a mix and match of that will happen. But my own sense is that I'm not in a hurry to buy. I will still wait for the new government to set up, and I won't mind buying 5% higher once the clarity comes. Because at the current levels, I think the valuations are good enough.
Okay, Dilip bhai, what we'll do is we'll take you up on your promise. You're not buying anything today, but most certainly you have deep pockets and an equal wisdom as well as experience to match. We'll tap you a couple of days later and see what you've added from your portfolio and what you've subtracted. Thank you so much for this lovely interaction that we've had on a day when there is near panic all around. The Nifty, ladies and gentlemen, now again slipping lower, 1500 points down at 21,750. And what better time to welcome a very well-known investor who just loves the color red, and it's Shankar Sharma for you, ladies and gentlemen, joining us from, how should I say, the cooler climes of Dubai compared to the heat that there is in New Delhi. Hello Shankar, and a good afternoon to you.
Wait, wait. First we start with greed and then
I think we'll just okay, what we'll do is we'll just rewire Shankar. The connection from Dubai is a bit weak, and I think Gaurang is still with us. Gaurang, just about 22 minutes left for the markets to close. Anything on the shopping list? Well, what we'll do is, yes, Gaurang's there. Gaurang, would you please repeat your answer? I think you're on mute. We couldn't hear you.
Apologies. Yes, I was on mute. Apologies for that. So there are a lot of opportunities, but the problem is, do you have the courage? Do you have the confidence? And more importantly, do you have a long-term time frame? And if you are ticking all these boxes that I just mentioned in the right mark, then I think I mentioned with Sakshi, I think defense, I will still stick to it. Railways, infrastructure, banking, private, public, both, autos, hospitality sector, Shell looks very interesting. I would definitely put my money on something like Interglobe Aviation Shell. This stock has been a flyer. I think these, honestly, Shell, if you ask me, this is the opportunity to get into these kind of stocks. Get into those strong names. That's where you're going to make a little bit better than what the benchmark indices would deliver.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is the advice that is coming in from a very well-known stock picker, Gaurang, and we welcome an equally well-known and dear friend to the screen, Shankar Sharma. He's joining us from the cooler climes of Dubai, because temperatures in Delhi are now worse than Dubai. So, Shankar ji, swagat hai aapka. As usual, you are looking more handsome than what you were when you came in last time. So I believe the exercise regime and the diet regime is working really well. What's not working well is the exit poll here in Delhi. What are your views?
Sorry, your voice is breaking. Hold on 1 second, Shell. I am actually in an island.
Okay.
And the net is not very good. So bear with me for 1 second. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Shankar.
So why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, no, I'm in an island in Greece. So you might be a little problematic in terms of the sound. Wait. My apologies, everybody. Is this okay? Can you hear me, see me?
Yes, we can see you and hear you clearly, Shankar. What are you doing post the exit poll and the 7% dip on the Nifty?
So Shell, I mean, here is my very clear perspective that I don't believe anything lasting in terms of damage is getting done today.
Okay.
We should account for uncertainties of outcomes of things like elections. The real problem for India or Indian investors has been twofold. Number one, they've assumed that the market will always deliver 15% or 12% every year. That's a embedded, baked-in assumption, especially in the last 4 years. And second is that in politics, there are going to be no surprises. This is a good way for people to get reminded that there are always surprises lying in store for us, whether in politics or in stock markets. So again, I'm losing money today for sure. I mean, I sold a fair bit in the last 3-4 months time, but obviously you cannot sit on 100% cash. So whatever is invested in some part is losing the money. But like I said, this is a good time to sit back, take a vacation. Don't look at the screen right now. The screen will settle down. It might have a wobbly few weeks, but overall my bet remains the same. Small mid caps will do phenomenally well. Large caps are average, irrespective of which government, in what formation, in what strength, what weakness they form the government. So look past this period and if possible get away from the screen.
But Shankar, would you have also bought something in this dip? Has anything been on your radar which you may have possibly put in some money? I remember the last time we were speaking, you talked about, that was the rarest of the rare occasions, and you talked about 2 stocks. One of them was Valiant as well. You had spoken about that. What you may have bought today, I want to know, sir.
So again, I know that was, yeah, you're right, 100%. I rarely talk about stocks, but my good friend Shell compelled me with his very smooth talking ways, and I always fall for it. Valiant is one stock. I own many stocks. As long as the numbers have been good in the stocks that you own or you want to own, the last set of numbers, and the outlook looks reasonable, a 5, 10, 15% down day must be bought into, at least to some extent. So today, if you have some cash left from your previous sales, it's a good time to buy some of these names which which were looking good but have fallen 5, 10% today. Maybe 10% of your overall buying size can be put to work. And I'm doing exactly that as we speak right now. I put in a few trades right now in the market as we speak.
Okay. The stocks that Shankar previously mentioned on screen, let me just get those names in. This is not necessarily the ones that he's punched in buy trades, but nevertheless, this is just a recap. Valiant Communications and Sumit Woods. Sumit Woods is a mid-cap builder based out of Mumbai. They have a huge presence in the redevelopment market in Borivali. And Valiant Communications is a Delhi-based maker of telecom gear, doing phenomenally well. When I checked the price last, I think it had peaked at about 600 rupees. The price will come right there in front of you, and that will be somewhere in the vicinity of 550 or so. Shankar, you've been an as avid a watcher of India's balance sheet as you've tracked small cap and the mid cap universe. Given the changes that have been wrought by the voting patterns, do you think that India's spending will now undergo a change reflecting the stress in rural India?
Sorry, Shell, my apologies, but your voice was a little indistinct.
I just wanted to ask, where do you think India's spending will be focused over the next 1 year or so, given the way the polls have come out?
I can't hear, there is, at least I can't hear it. Maybe others can, but it's kind of cracking a bit from your end. Can you hear me?
We can hear you clearly. Why don't you just offer your views on whatever you feel like will happen over the next 1 week or so?
I can't understand. I'm sorry. My apologies.
Okay. We'll try and connect again. Again, Shankar. Let me ask my PCR to connect with you again, and maybe the audio will get clearer. We'll toss the question to Rakesh Ji right there, and to tell us where exactly would you be keeping your focus over the next few days or months. Of course, the next big trigger will come in the form of the budget. Do you think a lot will change until then, Rakesh Ji?
So I think there will be a lot of introspection which will happen post to the election results. Obviously, they will try to analyze what are the factors which really went into this below par performance. I think one of the things is obviously the rural economy didn't really do that well as compared to the urban economy or the I would say, infrastructure-led economy, which was doing so well. I think there will be a little bit of shift towards rural economy, and that is what should get priority in the budget also. So I think that kind of course correction is probably due, and this government has a leeway also, given that GST collections are very high, and oil prices have actually come down to the OPEC cut. So I think there is leeway for this government to be a little bit more populistic. So I would I would think that probably sectors linked to rural economy would start to do slightly better, and the rotation might happen from the high flying infrastructure, defense kind of stocks to little bit to consumption stocks.
Okay, Sakshi, necessity is the mother of invention. We'll try and get Shankar Sharma again on the screen. What I have done is that sitting in Noida, I have texted the questions to him in Greece. He has read the questions and he will give his first answer. Now the only point is whether PCR can get Shankar on screen or not. My first question to him was, given the outcome of elections, will the new government have a change in its spending pattern? अब इंतजार शुरू होता है शंकर जी का.
Yes, we'll try and get him, but let's go across to Gaurang in the meanwhile. Gaurang, do you think, given the scenario that we are looking at right now, if the NDA is able to, come back to power with, of course, like not exuberant gains, but minor gains right here, how will the policy approach change from the government? Do you think the upcoming budget will have stark difference from what was earlier being thought of? Will the government need to approach very, very differently from what it was? Because this clearly is not an exuberant mandate.
I think what was said before the election by the Honorable Finance Minister and the Honorable Prime Minister, my sense is that budget will be very calculative, and they will possibly revisit a lot of areas. They would possibly introspect with respect to what they had anticipated and what was delivered in form of the election result, and then possibly walk the talk accordingly. One cannot expect huge changes in the budget given the current scenario and numbers. I think it will be an approach with a lot of cautiousness and with a lot of calculations.
Okay, I think Shankar is back on the screen and he's joining us from Greece, looking like a Greek god. Shankar, the first answer from your side, given the outcome of elections, will the new government have a change in its spending patterns?
Yes, that's a good question, Shail, and I want to answer that in some detail. My view has been this, and I don't want to sound political. Now, let's look at the 10 years of the previous government. The first 6 years were characterized by moderate fiscal deficits and moderate GDP growth. So 1920 GDP growth was just about 3.9%,
yes.
Only 3.9%. And the fiscal deficits in those preceding 6 years was between 3 and 4%. So the norm of India's fiscal deficits have been around that, barring crisis years. Post-COVID, the numbers changed completely on the fiscal side. We started hitting 10%, then 8%, then 7%, then 6%, and now we're projecting 5%. But even 5 is huge on a historical basis. And our GDP growth has been driven by these high fiscal deficits that we have seen in the last 4 years. And in turn, these high fiscal deficits that have driven growth have also driven equity market returns, because the capex numbers in government spending has been huge. And that's been the driver of the increased fiscal deficit. Now, it's all good. No debates about that. That's what was required. But the spending pattern that happened in the last 4 years cannot continue in the next 4 or 5 years. It simply cannot afford to keep running deficits of 4.5%, 5.5%, which has pushed up our debt to GDP to like 85 to 90% in the last 10 years, up from 65% 10 years ago. So we don't want to go down the path of the Western countries, which hit 100% debt to GDPs, because after that, your bullets are over as an economy to stimulate growth. That's exactly the problem facing Western economies or Chinese economy or Japanese economy. Debt to GDPs have been propelled higher because of very high infra spending by those governments, so much so that while you have made the bridges and the roads, but the fisc is out of control, and now they have hit the wall in terms of growth, because now you cannot increase debt to GDP to 500%. It's not possible. So we are hitting a level of debt to GDP of around whatever 85-90%. That's already a dangerous mark in my view. We must not breach it. If we don't breach it, growth will automatically suffer. So the spending pattern plan for the next government has to be a far more calibrated and, let's say, conservative one than the preceding one.
Okay. Shankar, the other question is very, very important for all the viewers again. We've so far seen PSUs, defense, railway stocks hog all the limelight and see a lot of wealth being created. Now, going forward from here, do you think these runaway sectors will give way to the underperformers, the newer segments maybe?
That's it. That's the nature of this world. For every trade that has become crowded, and the PSU trade had become crowded, everybody knew that. For every such trade which is crowded, the market's crowd is vacating another part of the market which is probably undercrowded. So we have to now shift our attention to the less crowded areas of the market and get out of the more crowded areas of the market. So this is an inevitable giant wheel. Something that was at the bottom will climb up, and something at the top exactly on the opposite side will climb down. PSUs were on the way on the top. They were on the bottom like maybe 3 years ago. They climbed right to the top. Something else was at the bottom. Now that sector or those sectors will start climbing up. So this is inevitable. I mean, I don't see that as a problem. In my view, most of the PSUs ran up without much merit, and a lot of good talk, but not with great merit. And in a kind of a mini bear market of the kind that we are right now into, those are the biggest casualties. So it's again par for the course.
Shankar, given the 6% cut on the Nifty and the fact that you say over the next 2 or 3 weeks stay away from the screen, would you expect a 10% correction from the top that we've just experienced yesterday on at least the main indices and then get back into the market? Or is much worse in the pipeline?
Well, can you send me a WhatsApp message with the question? Sometimes your voice cracks and I can't make out. My apologies.
Okay.
Maybe
no issues. Sakshi, why don't you have a conversation with Gaurang? I'll send the next question to Shankar.
Absolutely. Gaurang, the next question comes in the way of how FIIs have been behaving, and is there a decisive change in their behavior? Yesterday, we saw them putting about 6,800 odd crore rupees. Given what is the scenario today and what comes out in the final results as far as elections are concerned, how do you see FII's behavior changing in the Indian markets?
Given the situation, Sakshi, I don't think FIIs would be in a hurry. Because even I would, like I mentioned, if I am going to put only very selectively 25% of whatever I want to put, FIs are possibly going to be more cautious and calculative. So let us have the formation of the government, let us have the allocation of the portfolios, and then possibly see which way and direction is the equity market prospects going towards. I don't think they would be in a hurry to come and jump in and put in tomorrow, day after. I think each and every investor, however small, medium or big size or an FI or a domestic institution is, they would want for this clarity in terms of who's going to form the government, which may take a couple of days and then possibly we'll take it forward.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Indian Jugaad is it in top form. Shankar and I are conversing on WhatsApp between Noida and Greece. He can't hear my voice, but he can definitely read my question. The question sent to him, ladies and gentlemen, was do you see a deeper correction in the market, maybe a 10% dip from the top?
Yes, very much. We have already seen 6% on the indexes. And there is no reason to believe we cannot see another 6 or even 10% corrections. I mean, we have run up a lot, Shail. Can you hear me, Shail?
Yes, sir, you are loud and clear, sir.
Okay, fantastic. So we've seen a huge, again, it's important to see the perspective. From the lows of COVID till now, the small caps have returned something like 40% CAGR. 4 years, 40% CAGR. We have entered the fifth year of a bull market. Fifth year of a bull market is always problematic because a bull market typically has longevity of only between 4 and 5 years. That's why it's a bull. It's not a horse. A horse can run long distances at high speed, but a bull cannot. A bull needs to pause and rest. And that usually happens between the fourth year and the fifth year. We are now in the fifth year of this bull market. It started in 2020. 40-year compounded return the last 4 years. There is no reason to believe that you can say that 6% minus is the maximum you can see. I would not be surprised if you see another 6% or another 10% down on the market. Not immediately, not like a knee jerk, but a more, let's say, a gradual drift down. So I think the initial shock is there. But after this, I don't see another big shock in terms of 5-10% fall on a day. But it could be a smaller, more grinding kind of fall correction, which can lead us 15% down in total from the peaks. That should be very normal to expect.
Okay, Gaurang, let me get you in on that as well. How much more downside do you see there could be in the markets, if at all? Looking at what Shankar is also saying, that we've actually run up quite a lot and we need to probably pause. How much more of a downside could we see?
Honestly, Sakshi, as we all know, markets don't like uncertainty. And an uncertainty like this, when it was almost certain. So that has possibly hit all of us with a great force. And to come out from this feeling, it's going to take a while. Like I said, political events are very unpredictable wherever it is, whether it is India or rest of the world, more so in India. So, and of course, the news flows and the rumors which are doing around in the market, that may lead to a lot of nervousness. Cannot rule out another 5-10% correction from the level where we are right now. Okay. Now, whether that's going to be a great opportunity to buy, if you have a 3 to 5 year time horizon, I certainly feel that you can in a phased out manner, but very difficult to say in terms of absolute possibility where the bottom is.
Okay, Sakshi, I'm still typing the questions to Shankar. Let's see whether he sees them or not. I'm just showing the phone to him. Maybe he can see the phone and read what I have written to him. Maybe we've bid him goodbye. That's how volatility is in Indian markets, and that's how we've been getting questions across to Greece. Matlab Saat Samundar Par. Ladies and gentlemen, yes. He's read the questions, and hopefully he'll be back on screen. And when he is, then we'll go back to him. But for the moment, we are 2 minutes into the closing, and Sakshi, there you are, Shankar. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, my question to him was: do you think the retail investor will now pause his SIPs, given that Mr. Modi was a lightning rod to welcome them into markets?
So my view is this, or rather my message is this, that when you are entering the stock market as a retail investor, please do not bet on a particular individual or a particular party to deliver you numbers and growth. You are betting on India. I'm not talking India bloc. I'm talking India as a country. Your bet is on India as a country, not a particular party. If your bet is on India, there's nothing to believe that things have changed so dramatically for the world for India. We are $2,000 per capita. We will go to 5,000 and 10,000. So stop worrying and start living. This is not about one individual making or marring the future of a great nation like ours. We are a great nation. We will continue being a great nation. And we have always found great leaders. And we will continue finding great leaders to lead this country forward. That's all I can say.
Wonderful, Shankar, and thank you so much for this lovely interaction. You're sitting in Greece and enjoying the cooler climes. That's the sea view that Shankar has, and you need to follow him on Twitter to get the best of Europe and how the best of life has to be enjoyed. He did mention a particular line, live it up. That's how it is, and truly a wonderful interaction in which he says, don't worry, the India story is in place. Invest in the country rather than on a person, and you just might see a bit of a correction in the market, but then such is life.
Right. Well, thank you so much, Shankar, and thank you so much, Gaurang, for being with us on this very special edition and sharing your very, very important advice for all our viewers on a day when the markets have clearly tanked. We've seen the last level on the Nifty today, that's below the 22,000 mark, 5.4% down take. The Nifty bank down by 7.4%. All the sectors barring the FMCG have slipped lower in trade. There are just about 8-9 names in the green on the Nifty, led by HUL, that maintained its 6% move on the upside. What we'll have to wait and watch is to find out how the evening really pans out and what are the final numbers as far as the Lok Sabha elections rally is concerned, because that will set the tone for tomorrow morning's trading session as well. Will we see a bounce back, or will we see a continuous nervousness from these levels as well? That remains a question to be answered, and time will tell. Many thanks for watching us on Business Today, but the election coverage will continue, so stay tuned.
But is that too much of a hope at this stage as far as the markets are concerned?
Morning, Siddharth. Thank you for having me on. And you notice to your response of good morning, I just said morning. I took the good out of it. But that being said, I think obviously, the movie hasn't played out as the trailer was shown to us over the weekend. But Siddharth, I think I'm going to probably tell you something that maybe nobody else on your channel has, told you so far. And I think this is a larger point. And Siddharth, I think you and I at one point, probably just crossed each other at Bloomberg UTV a long time back.
Yes.
And, I know you're very well connected to policymakers. I think this is a point to be taken home. Could the election have not ended a day earlier instead of Saturday on Friday? And could the election results have not been announced yesterday instead of today? Yeah, allowing the markets to go up on an exit poll yesterday and allowing them to fall today. I'm not saying that anyone knew the election outcome, but why gamble, or why, keep that window open for the public to be subject to such volatility? I think it is utter senselessness. This could have been better managed so that you did not have to, go through this exuberance. Because I'll tell you, Siddharth, even though my business is institutions and I only deal with large institutional investors, there were so many people who called me yesterday between my family and friends saying, "Yaar, kal to itna badh gaya, kal bhi